So I'm Murphy Robinson from Mountain Sun Expeditions, and this is Olivia, who shot this beautiful deer this morning at the Huntress Expedition program, which this year is in Northern Virginia. So we're going to show you how to gut a deer, and we need to make 2 holes in order to gut this deer. We need to cut around the anus of the deer to sever that from the rest of the deer, and then we need to make a long slit down the abdomen, and then we're going to pull all the guts out through the abdomen. So we're actually going to start back here, and this is a doe, so it has both an anus and a vagina back here, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut around both of them. So the main thing that you want to keep in mind is not to cut into the intestines here, because there's fecal matter in there and you don't want that on the meat. But here you can see severing the skin. This place where we're hunting in Virginia is very overpopulated with deer, so the farmers here are very happy that we were able to shoot a doe and control the local population a little better that way. So I'm using a very sharp knife here that I just sharpened before I started this. You know how to sharpen your knife if you want to cut up animals. So now everything there has been severed, and I'm going to actually cut between them too, because I'm pretty sure they come out of different holes in the pelvis, just in case. So we're basically going to end up pulling this large intestine here and the anus right through the pelvis to the other side. So we just need it to be really well separated here. And this is a doe, so it's super fatty because it hasn't lost all its body fat in the rut like the bucks do. So I'm just going to work through some of that fatty tissue there. Sometimes people will tie off the anus here with a little piece of cord or a twist tie or something. I don't usually find that that's necessary as long as you're careful. And this deer doesn't look like it's trying to avoid itself or anything. So just keep on cutting in a little bit deeper here. It's hard to see in this light, but until we cut it all around the rectum, basically. There you go. But you gotta be careful with that tip of the knife digging in there, because you could hit the intestinal wall if you're not careful. So it's a process of gradual exploration here. Yeah, that's looking good. See how it's sort of cut all around there? Mm-hmm. Great. It's getting really well separated from all that surface area, like fascial tissue that's binding on there. Yeah, all right. That's looking good there. And see this white here? This is all the beautiful fat. We're gonna render this later and make some deer tallow for cooking. All right, so we come around to the belly side of the deer. And here we just need to make one big long slit down the middle. From the pelvis here, you can feel the hard bone of the pelvis, do that if you want. And all the way down to the sternum, which will be somewhere in here. It's a little hard to tell where it starts because she's got some nice fat on her. And the main goal here is not to stab your knife right in there so that it cuts the guts open. You don't want to get the gut acids on the rest of the deer if you can help it. So I'll make the initial slit with a knife, and then I'm going to use a gutting hook to make the rest of it. So start up here. Whenever you're cutting into hair, it dulls your knife, so cut through more hair than you need to. And here's the little udder. And here we're just cutting the very surface level of the skin with light strokes, so that it's not going to cut through to the organs. And then I'm going to come in up here. Because we have her hanging head down, her guts are all going to kind of move forward a little bit. And if you cut up here, you're less likely to hit any guts. So we're going to try to actually cut through the abdominal wall here. Like that. Going through that fat layer. Getting into some right there. Okay. So that's a good spot to put the gut hook. I'm gonna grab the gut hook. So there's two types of gut hooks you can get. You can buy a knife that has a gut hook already in it. This was like, I don't know, 15 bucks at a basic hunting store. I don't think that the gutting hook on that one is all that great. It'll work in a pinch. You can also just do this with a knife, being very careful if you don't have a gutting hook. This is just a gutting hook, and it's better because it's just trying to do one thing, and it does it well. So I come in here, and the only thing that's touching the inside of the deer is this rounded hook. It's not going to cut the guts open, and this is going to slice the skin open. So stick it in there, and you zip it open like a jacket. Oh, you got that smell. That gut smell. So nice and fatty. Alright. I'm gonna need a separate bowl just for the fat on this one. I brought a crock pot so we can render it. So this is the stomach right here. And all this branching stuff is actually part of the nervous system. It's part of the vagus nerve. The unique smell of deer guts. Here I'm going to zip this back up a little bit because it didn't totally come through the first time. You want to bring that gray bucket over here closer, Olivia? Thank you. Because sometimes it all just starts pouring out. Okay, so this thing is entirely opened up. I'm going to put a bucket sort of between the legs here to catch this. And then it's a process of just letting the guts fall out. Well, it's warm. And if we were in a subsistence situation here, we'd be saving a lot of these fat globules and guts and stuff like that to eat. Olivia, if you want to grab from the back of my car, there's a box of Ziplocs.
Okay.
We'll want to save some of these organs. Oh, this is a very well-fed deer. So you're kind of just scooping this out at this point. Let's get a Ziploc. Do you want to save and render some of this fat? If you have some deer tallow?
Yeah.
You don't want it, I want it, so. A Ziploc for fat, and we'll need one for the kidneys. I think we'll discard the spleen in this case because we're hunting in a county next to a county with chronic wasting disease. We shouldn't have it here, but the spleen is supposedly a high-risk organ for chronic wasting disease, so we're going to get rid of that. But there's some great fat here. That's all fat. Oh my gosh. Deer is luscious. Alright, so here we have the large intestine going back towards the anus where we cut at it before. A lot of this you can just kind of tear at with your gloved fingers. It's less risky than getting your knife in there and possibly cutting something by accident. If you want to connect the tissue, you can just divide up. And this organ right here, I'm pretty sure this is her uterus. So if she was bred this year, it certainly hasn't started to show yet. But we are hunting slightly post-rut, so who knows? Alright, so that stomach is staying stable. Grab some of this fat. So this is the yellowy fat, all in globules. And a lot of people will tell you that deer fat is terrible and you should never try eating it and it's gross. And I really like it. I think it's great. You just gotta render it in a crock pot for 12 hours and then pour off the liquid into a jar. I've been eating nothing but deer tallow for fat in my house for about a year now, and it's really good. Maybe it's not quite as good like on toast or something, but it's great for cooking. And there's so much good fat. And if you were to wait a little longer, the fat might be a little harder, but now it's still really soft. And you do want to gut your deer pretty much right away. I got this deer about an hour and a half ago. Brought it back home to gut it because the landowner wanted us to be sure not to leave any guts in the woods. Let's see, some of this is getting into the kidney. Yeah, the kidney is tasting so much fat. This is exciting. So we're just kind of digging around in here. And we find some things that we recognize. This is the kidney right back here. It's encased in fat, so kind of only know it's the kidney because I know where the kidney's supposed to be. But the kidney is an organ that you can totally cook up and eat if you can get it out from all that fat. Maybe finding the liver in here too before too long. That's that. Fat. There's the kidney. You can have one on the other side, but I'm gonna come in here and do the large intestine first. So I want to just get this all three of things. So if you want to come around here again, you can see that the weight of the guts spilling out the other side is already sort of pulling that anus in through. See that there? Mm-hmm. Like there's even a little bit of daylight you can see in there.
Yeah.
So you want to go for that daylight. And again, working it with your finger is a little safer than working it with a knife, but we'll probably do some of both. And just making sure we can separate out that so it slides right through. I'm going to take the knife and cut a little tissue there, cut a little tissue on the bottom. All that nice fat. Alright, see how that's like really free and you can see through it?
Oh yeah.
Daylight right through there. So I'm going to come around to this side again. And see about pulling that through. Yeah. So that comes right through. And looks like, let me check that everything. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so now we're gonna be a little more able to get this to come out of the deer. Severing a little bit of the connection here. And the fat that's all stuck to the large intestine I'm not really gonna go after because I don't want to risk cutting that intestine. There's the other kidney hanging out. The kidneys on a deer are right where your kidneys are, right at the small of your back. So just look for them at the small of the back. And if you've got a doe, they're going to be encased in so much fat. Alright, we'll just leave that fat with the kidney and it'll be delicious when it's cooked. Alright, so we got a couple more organs coming out here that we can identify. I'm seeing spleen and the liver, which we'll be able to get out in just a minute. So, and pretty soon here you're hitting a thin wall of muscle that is the diaphragm. And you definitely want to get out all of the organs that are below the diaphragm, and then we'll cut through it and go for the organs that are above the diaphragm. So you've got two organs here that look similar. The lighter one with kind of a speckledy color is the spleen. That's one we're leaving here because we're in a chronic wasting disease area. And then the darker one with less mottling is the liver. Oh my gosh, look at that fat. This is so exciting. This is a crazy amount of fat. So much good fat. Alright. So, the stomach's almost out, and at some point we're going to have to reach in and cut the esophagus in order for that to fully come out. Here we have the liver. Tiny little creature that's there, but it's already out. So we'll want another bag for the liver. Here's the liver. The liver has 3 lobes. That's another way to tell it's the liver. Some very good nourishing meat. And now, cutting through the esophagus. That last little thread. And we have the guts out. Ta-da! At least we have the abdominal guts out. We still got to get the chest guts out. So, you take a good look in here. We've got the diaphragm with a little hole in it going into the chest cavity. This deer was shot with a really good heart-lung shot, so it's going to be messy in there. That's where all the bleeding has occurred. This deer died in just a few seconds. Some heavy bleeding. Alright, more fat coming out. I used to toss away all the fat. I'm so glad that I've changed my ways. Alright, now that I know how to process it. Okay, so now I'm going to cut the entire diaphragm out. So there's just this thin wall of muscle that separates the abdomen and the chest cavity. And I'm just going to cut it all out. And you know what? You can eat that. It's muscle. And that's what meat is, muscle. So I'm going to put that aside too. Maybe throw it in the kidneys for now. Just go all the way around the bottom of that rib cage. Cut out the diaphragm. If we were doing more of a backcountry hunt, we would do this all in the field. So it's good to bring Ziploc bags. This is the diaphragm muscle. Very thin muscle, but very powerful because it's what does all the breathing. Okay, so now we have to go diving in there to get the lungs and the heart. Those are our last organs. And this will give us a bit of a autopsy on the deer too. This one you can't really film, but basically I'm gonna dive in there, try and grab my hand around the trachea and the esophagus above the lungs and cut it with the other hand with my knife. So I'm doing a little blind cutting. I'm being careful not to cut myself. And then I should be able to pull out both the heart and the lungs all at once. Oh, it's soupy in there. These ones, it doesn't matter if you cut into them a little bit. They don't have any bad juices or anything. got it. So, here we can see how this deer was shot. The bullet went right through. Definitely messed up the heart a little bit. And got both lungs. That's about as good as it gets. Do you want to eat lung meat or just save the heart?
I guess save those, yeah.
You know, we might actually want to throw away the lungs in this case just because of the bullet went straight through there, so there could be a little bit more blood contamination.
Okay.
We'll save the heart because it's really good meat and we'll just sort of cut around it. But the lungs are very squishy. It's hard to like deal with them.
Okay.
So cutting away the lungs. And then this is the deer's heart. You can see here, Olivia has shot it into a whole rosette of heart. And we're just going to come in and trim it well before we cook it because the lead bullet went right through there. I'm thinking of changing to non-lead ammo so we don't have to do that. It's better for the environment too. All right, this deer is gutted. Next we're going to skin it, but that can be another video.
Great.
Thanks for watching.